Welcome back. Well, Orange County Fire Authority is here today. Steve Concialdi. He is the Public Information Officer and also a captain, right? Yes, you are. And you brought along Teri Merritt, and you are the fire prevention specialist, but you guys actually changed the name of the department. It's now the Department of Community Risk Reduction. Am I right?
It is. Historically.
Welcome, by the way.
Thank you. It is. What we did was fire prevention no longer really describes what we do as a department, and it doesn't really follow our mission that we've gone after. Our new focus really is community risk.
Right.
What's going on in our communities? It's not just going out and doing building and maintenance inspections or things like that, but we also want to educate people on water safety. We have several drownings annually that we want to come after and combat. It's finding out people's vegetation management when it comes to living up in the high fire areas, and our Ready, Set, Go program. So we've really expanded our focus and want to educate the public on what they can do to help prevent fires and be safe within their communities.
Right. Beyond, I can see why you would change this, because it goes far beyond that, especially water safety and things like that. Very interesting. And you have, I know Steve has talked about this, the ReadySetGoOC.org. And tell me a little bit about that.
That program really deals with homes that are in what we consider a high fire area. Those are areas that the state has identified as a wildland issue. So we really want to make sure that people have the proper vegetation planted, that they have setbacks, which means that you don't have a tree growing up right up underneath your eaves of your house. You don't want dead leaves all around your home either. You want to kind of keep that clean. And it goes into general just sort of fire safety maintenance. You want to keep a clean home.
Right.
If you have things that need to be watered, making sure that they're not dead and dying is what we call them. If you do see anything like that, we want to make sure that gets removed and replaced with something that's a little more drought tolerant.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, you brought along a couple things here today. I think one is quite obvious, and this is a consumer. What I mean by that is something you can find at Home Depot or just about anywhere, home fire extinguisher. And there's certain ones that you should be looking for. They're probably all, when you buy them for your home, probably all have the same amount of certification or what type of fires they help put out. But explain the differences of these.
Sure. The main one for general home use you want to get is what we consider an ABC fire. It handles the most generic types, the wood burnings, paper, things of that nature. This particular model is one KIDA has recently come out with that deals specifically with cooking fires. And the difference with this particular model is that it doesn't shoot a direct hard flame or extinguishing stuff.
Right, I'm going to point this right here. You can see
and typically anybody that's used an extinguisher, it comes out with pretty good force.
Yeah, it does.
This particular one does more of a lofting effect. So what you do is you're still doing the same thing where you're pulling the pin, you're aiming, you're sweeping back and forth, but this one actually will come as more of a loft to help smother the fire.
Okay.
Now you want to make sure as well that you're not relying solely on putting out a fire with an extinguisher. We did have someone recently that tried to use an extinguisher and the fire was just not quite, it was a little too much for the extinguisher. So they needed to go to plan B. So always make sure you have that plan B in your pocket of, if this doesn't work, what else am I going to do, and how quickly am I just going to get out of the house?
Okay.
But there are some more specific extinguishers you can buy. The main thing is if you have something like this particular one that has a gauge on it, you want to make sure that it stays in the green. It actually says full on that particular piece of it.
What is the life of these? Would you say, I have one, I have a couple of them, and they're probably 10 years old.
Right, and they're still good as long as they stay in the green. But
that's what you look for.
Right. Just last week in Lake Forest, we had a significant fire in a kitchen where it was a grease fire. Family was there, they were cooking, and all of a sudden the grease fire grew. And the dad ran and he grabbed the pot and he yanked it and he pulled it outside. Well, what happened was that got all over him. It basically singed his face, his hair, it burned his hands and his arms, singed his nose hair, and it spread the fire. So you could just, all he had to do was take a lid and cover that up, or if he had an extinguisher like that, he could have sprayed on it. But the most important thing, and she's the cooking fire specialist, she'll talk about it, but you put a lid over it.
Right.
But he burned himself severely, and he had to be taken to the burn center at Western Medical Santa Ana.
Wow.
Because with the grease fire, he grabbed it and it got all over.
And that's really, some of the valid point is the main thing we want you to do is if we could practically eliminate cooking fires by just doing a few things. One of it, if you're in the kitchen, stay in the kitchen. Don't come out, don't, set your grease and get ready to walk out because it's going to take a little bit to heat up. We want you to stay in there, do some other things, do workouts, whatever you want to do to make you stay in the kitchen and not get distracted. Because unattended cooking is the #1 cause of fires throughout the nation, not just in our tiny little communities, but throughout the entire nation. And we want you to also make sure that you're not storing things in your oven. We're finding a lot of people have those broilers or a drawer underneath of the very bottom that they tend to just throw things in, or kids tend to come up and put their toys in there and you don't even realize it. The first thing you want to do before you turn on your oven or as you're turning on the oven is just to open the door and see what's in it. Check the bottom drawer. Not all of them are meant for storage. Just doing a few of those things, keeping away, your towel or watching your sleeve as you reach over, those types of things could almost completely eliminate cooking fires.
Right.
So it's just those little tiny, steps that if you could take, we could eliminate a major cause.
Yeah, the only thing I keep in my stove, or my oven, I should say, I have a cast iron pan. That's where it stays.
I do as well.
Underneath, we have the ones with the storage. Everything in there is metal things, your cookie sheet or something like that. One other thing I want to talk about, or I want to point out as someone who cooks a lot, you talk about grease fires and things like that. If you are have your pot on the stove, you want to fry chicken or something like that, make sure it's deep enough. Right. #1. #2, get yourself a thermometer, a good one, and there's different kinds. Don't get the bimetal one. There's different kinds. And Thermapen, I'm going to recommend a brand because they really are good. And make sure that is at the correct temperature for whatever you're frying. I also have, if you want to spend the money, I have it's basically a laser gun that you can shoot at anything. I could shoot it at your forehead, as long as I don't get in your eyes. But it gives you the temperature. So a lot of times, I'll have my pan on the stove, or I'll have the oil. I can just hit that oil with that. That's going to tell me my temperature.
Exactly. But the key to that whole piece is that you're planning to stay in your kitchen.
Right.
So again, we really want to reiterate that piece of it, that don't walk away for anything.
No.
We know that kids sidetrack you. We know that phone calls, especially, people start texting on their phones or running apps or whatever. You're cooking fried chicken. It's going to take a little bit for that grease to really get to a point where you're going to get that good fried chicken out of it. I, as well, use cast iron all the time. It's a great pan. You don't always have a lid for it.
Right.
And if you don't have a lid for it, a cookie sheet or something flat works just as well. So having that out, putting your ladle or whatever it is that you want, your tongs on that to help remind you that it's there, it also stops the grease from going on your countertops and everything else. But wipe down your stove and your countertops as soon as you're done. We have some fires that actually start just because there's burnt things on the stove or even in the oven. We've had people, have drippings from, Thanksgiving, it's always the drippings from the turkey that end up on the coils or just in the bottom that start smoking and firing. You want to make sure you periodically clean those as well.
Right, exactly. You brought, what is this thing you brought?
This is another fire type product that will help suppress. It's very similar to an extinguisher, but it's really...
I've never seen this.
This is Fire Stop. It's...
Does it go, it has a magnet, does it go?
It has a magnet. This is the newer model. What they do is, this actually hides up underneath your cook hood stove.
So put that there.
Your hood exhaust system is usually hanging over the top on most models. 2 cans will protect 4 different burners depending on the size, and there's some specifications that you can do. But what stovetops come out with is that this thing will hide, can't even see it. If you do walk away and you have a major grease fire or some type of fire on top of it, the underneath portion of it has what we call a little fusible link. And what that does is this particular point here will melt away and pop that entire bottom open, and it uses something similar to a fire extinguisher that will help smother the
Wow.
fire. And truly, both of these products are not necessarily meant to put out the fire permanently. It's meant for you to get close enough to the stove or to the source
Wow.
to turn off the oven or the burner, whatever it is that you have on.
So this reminds me of kind of I think they're called the ANSO systems or whatever they're in restaurants.
It's very similar.
Yeah, but my first question is, what is, as far as the temperature this has to be, obviously you don't want to be cooking a nice meal and all of a sudden, something might
Sure.
flare up for a few seconds. That's bound to happen, and then this goes.
No, it takes a significant amount.
Okay.
It takes a fire to get this to actually activate. And this is just one of many products we've been able to find.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
And what we did is just started searching online for alternatives.
Yeah.
Because we want people to have some sort of a plan. Is your plan to use an extinguisher? Is your plan to have even the baking soda next to you? You have to have 3 large boxes of baking soda to put out a decent sized fire. So keep that in mind, that all of this stuff is really just to get you close enough to turn off the heat source.
Right.
So turning off that knob. There's even products out there that has a motion censored that you then can connect to your stove, and you walk away for too long and it automatically shuts your stove off.
Wow.
So
That's great.
that's my Cook Stop. But there's tons of products out there. You're welcome to contact us at any time, or just do a search on your own.
One thing I want to bring up here. We got a couple things I want to show, but this is although this takes us in another direction here. But you recently were I heard you on the radio, I think, talk about this.
Right.
This is quite interesting. This happened in Coto de Caza, and I remarked when Steve sent me these photos yesterday that if you did not know any better, you would have thought that a movie production crew was there and they placed this car precariously up on this wall. What happened here?
Right. So, based on what the CHP is saying, this car was driving at high rate of speed down Vista del Verde on Friday evening about 7:30.
And this is in Coto, so it's
Coto
not
de
like
Caza.
they're going down. Yeah,
yeah, it's the upper street in Coto, so
right.
it's a thoroughfare. A
Yeah.
lot of people travel this, and this 22-year-old young man goes to Cal State Fullerton. He comes home on the weekend. His mom told me, for his mom's good cooking. I mean, very emotional. His mom and dad were out there, his younger brother, but somehow he struck the curb as he's coming down Vista del Verde on the opposite side.
Yeah.
And we're not sure why. Maybe he was distracted looking down. He might have been texting. We don't know. But he struck the curb and went inverted and flew and then landed on the roof of his car, and he slid across the intersection. This is the corner house. Vista del Verde comes here and Cherry Hill's here. And he just went up in the front of the house, went up the curb, went up a little hill, and got airborne. And as he was going airborne upside down, he struck a tree and it flipped him back over.
Whoa.
And he flew, based on CHP's reports, 45 feet. And he landed on this wall that runs next to the house. So the left 2 wheels are on the wall, and the center of the car is supported by the wall that is flush with the home. And so our urban search and rescue truck companies, both from Mission Viejo and our heavy rescue from Irvine, were dispatched as well. And with the truck company from Santa Margarita, they secured this vehicle with rescue struts because it was teetering.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he lost his life. He was dead on impact. And when our crews got there, they immediately put the ladder there. They started securing the vehicle, but he was trapped in the vehicle. But he was deceased.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But it's extremely tragic, and again, it took a while. A crane had to be brought in. CHP brought in a crane, and they physically had to remove the vehicle from the wall, and then our firefighters had to use the jaws of life to pop open the door to get him out.
Yeah, I didn't realize that had happened. It looked like he just popped up on the wall, and that was it.
Yeah, so he flew 45 feet.
Wow. He was going a good rate of speed.
Yeah, and they're unsure how fast he was going, but somehow he struck the curb. So this is a reminder for everybody. It is so quickly to veer off, to hit a curb, to hit the center median when you're texting or you're distracted. So we're getting more texting accidents than anything else right now. And so we really got to get the message out. And people think, oh, I'm so good at it and everything. It takes a split second to hit the car in front of you or hit a curb.
Exactly. I want to go to another 3 photos here, and these were some awards that were given out. This was sent to me by Lynette. The Best and Bravest is an award ceremony. And there were several gentlemen here. These were the 3 photos that I got.
Right.
And so I wanted to put them up. And I didn't, I think I put them out of order of what I have listed here. Firefighter David King was selected Career Firefighter of the Year.
Was.
Engineer John Zubis received the esteemed life-saving medal for his heroic actions on a basketball court last year. He was playing in adult league and in the city of Yorba Linda, and he saw one of his teammates collapse, and he was able to remedy him.
And
with
let
one
me
of those
talk
portable.
about that real quick.
Yeah.
A lot of times now in businesses, in Costco's, in supermarkets, in airports, in gyms, there's automatic external defibrillators. They're on the wall. Anybody could use them. Basically, you pull them off the wall, you open the thing, it'll give you just directions. You put a pad just on the left side underneath the breast, and the other pad on the scapula in the back. And then you hit a button, and it'll tell you to walk you through. It'll give you voice commands, and it'll only defibrillate if the person's in a certain rhythm where that it needs to be shocked. So if they're not breathing, but if their heart is still beating, it won't go off. So it'll only shock you. It'll only shock the patient when it's needed. And so basically, he yelled. Somebody grabbed the defibrillator. He was able to put it on, and he was able to shock this person, and he saved his life.
That's great. Yeah, and the final person here is Captain Wayne Chapman for his participation in work ethic in numerous working groups and committees at all levels. Yeah. And he got the Medal of Merit, which is nice.
Wayne's been on for over 25 years. He's outstanding. He is involved in so many things in our helicopter program, urban search and rescue. He's a well-known instructor for the urban search and rescue, and he's constantly giving classes up and down the state, and he's actually nationally recognized. So all 3 of these gentlemen are excellent firefighters, and they go above and beyond every single day. And the Orange County Fire Authority is extremely proud of them.
And one last thing, and I apologize to forget the firefighter's name who lost his life. He was on the job up where I live, up in Rancho, and he had a heart attack.
Greg Hennessy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Greg and I were hired together 24 years ago.
You worked at that station for a while, right?
Right, I worked at that station, and then we were on Truck 17 in Cypress. I was a tillerman. He was my truck firefighter partner in 1991.
Wow.
And so Greg has 2 boys, a 22-year-old and a 19-year-old son. Greg was an Eagle Scout. He was very proud of that. Both of his boys are Eagle Scouts. And his motto was basically, you give life a serving. He was always willing to help somebody. He was very intense. He's from New York, very dedicated, took his job very seriously, but he always was doing so much for so many people. He was an Explorer advisor for the last 8 years. He taught firefighters how to become engineers, very dedicated to Orange County Fire Authority.
Well, we thank him for his service, and great loss to not only Orange County Fire Authority, but obviously to his family, and we wish his family all the best. So thank you for talking about him. We're out of time right now, so we're all going to have to say goodbye to everyone, and have a good day. We thank Steve and Teri for coming on today, and all our guests, and have a good weekend. Have a safe weekend. Remember, if you're cooking something, keep an eagle eye on what you're doing, all right? All right, we'll see you on Monday. Take care.